where you tank stats, you first pick Tahm Kench. That should not be an option for Splyce here. However, Giants hasn't first picked Tahm Kench yet. They've been like all over the place. Like first picking Braum, and then the first pick jungle, and then first pick some other different things. So I wonder if Splyce will keep the Tahm Kench open and try and force, or will hope the Giants doesn't pick it and then take it for Wunderwear, because it's been like his go-to pick.
Well, it's going to be a tough question. We are on 6.1 for everybody at home, and as mentioned earlier, Kindred is disabled, so that's one of those champions that's seen a number of times on the bench, banned out. And of course, BetongJocke is now coming in for Giants, so new jungler. You see Elise being taken off the table as the final ban from Giants to round out the Poppy and Alistar, and the Tahm is no longer there either. So
Ryze,
Trundle's still up.
Trundle, Ryze, I don't think Trundle first pick. Yeah. I'm looking more maybe at a Graves as a first pick, because now that we have Kindred being removed from the jungle pool, she was obviously one of the top picks to often be banned or picked very early. It always changes things around a little bit, because suddenly Elise gets even more value, Graves gets even more value. Completely missed the fact that Lulu was open, which, funny enough, here's another fact. Giants has never played Lulu this season.
No.
They banned it every game.
Correct.
And honestly, I wonder who's going to play it, because I don't think it's a XPePii champion at all. I think he needs to be on something that can carry. And Adam has been playing mainly tanks up in top lane. He's actually been honestly fairly weak when it comes to landing skill shots on specific champions, like Shen with his taunt. So I think Splyce are fine giving over Lulu to Giants and saying, you know what, this doesn't even benefit you.
We'll see if XPePii can find some synergy with the rest of his team with that Lulu pick. Going to be a bit difficult for Giants to deal with the wave clear and the poke that's already been put in place with that Corki Graves. And flex picks, once more. We've been saying it so much on 6.1.
Can we please see Corki mid in Europe soon? It is such a good pick, but every team picks Corki, then puts it as AD carry. I just want to see Corki mid, especially also together with the likes of Graves. I mean, that siege is so good. Once you hit level 11 on Corki, you have Trinity Force, you have Magic Penetration Boots, rank 2 ulti. You are so hard to deal with, especially if the other team doesn't have proper hard engage. This case here, there's an Alistar, you can speed him up with Lulu, and like, the engage is okay. I think you can definitely play around it though if you are Splyce. You can still go for the likes of Morgana or Janna if you want to disengage in support against the Alistar engage.
So it looks to be the case for now. Giants still holding their cards to the chest, not revealing which lane that Lulu is going into. And we'll leave their final draft to answer that question. On the side of Splyce, picks and bans has been something of a question for the team over the last few games. It seemed to get better in week 2, and so far, if this Morgana gets locked in, and it will shortly, it's a good answer to the Headbutt, Pulverize, Engage, and Wunderwear on a split-pushing champion like Fiora is solid. But now we need to see how well Trashy can help him out in the early stages.
And obviously, again, you wanna save your Corki as a potential mid lane pick, so you take top lane here and you kind of show Graves is going to the jungle, but that's perfectly fine. For Splyce, Fiora is still honestly a very safe top lane pick. Very few things can completely shut her down in lane, and even if that should happen, Graves can come in and assist her fairly effectively. So I like what Splyce is doing. I think they have a very strong comp. We talked about the disengaged support against what tends to be a bit of, lack of hard engage when it's just an Alistar, or if it's a Lee Sin kicking someone back. So Splyce so far building a very good siege comp, and basically a 1-4 setup at the moment.
Well, you'll definitely have to break down that 1-4 and how it works
maybe
in-game for me,
maybe
Deficio.
soon.
But for Giants, they're severely lacking damage for the time being. The question of where Lulu will go is answered. It will be in Atom's hands up top. XPePii's going to be on that Ahri for the second time this split. And of course, Adryh on the Lucian. So fairly well-rounded comp, good pick potential if they catch somebody out.
You open up for LeBlanc counterpick here. I know it's kind of cheating because he's already hovering it, but like, it's something we talk about very often, how LeBlanc in the early game can really dictate the laning phase against Ahri. Pre-level 6, you can decide all the fights with distortion. You can be a lot more aggressive. So Splyce has the option now to just put Corki AD carry and say, okay, give a Sencux a good matchup. Good matchup.
Well, hopefully Sencux can max up his power.
Maybe.
Last week he finally showed up in the 4th game on stage. There was actually a lot of hype around Sencux and Kobbe coming into the LCS and how they'd perform. But Deficio, if that LeBlanc is locked in, it means you're not getting your Corki mid. Can you live with it?
I can. Also because Kalista is banned. I can accept that Kalista Corki are the 2 main AD carry picks at the moment. So with the bans coming in, with the chance of a good matchup in mid lane, I accept Corki going down as an AD carry. But it just shows again how good this flex picking AD carry is, because you can save it into the very end. Giants, very mixed setup they're running here. Because, like, we have seen Lulu Lucian quite a bit over in LCK. We know SKT likes to run it, bank, and go crazy in the late game. But you really gotta go full late game then. You have like 4 or 5 items on Lucian before he becomes that hyper carry late, with a Lulu buffing him, that is. And then you have like Ahri, who wants to pick off targets. The problem is, I'm not sure Giants will be allowed to. Because who's going to stop Fiora in the side lane? Who's going to stop LeBlanc in the side lane? So Giants will be forced to group very early and avoid this 1-3-1 happening from Splyce. Otherwise, I feel like their comp will fall apart.
So in theory, Splyce will have more options to knock over Giants' Nexus. And we'll see if they can get into a position where they can split push, because Deficio, you've been talking about that map play so much this week. And if Giants can get in before Splyce can set up, maybe that's their way into this game.
It's how you deal with split pushing, right? You strike before it gets to set up. You strike before it's pushing down to your towers already.
Well, let's find some perfect examples this game. If you guys at home think the Giants are going to pick up a win, hashtag GIA win. Or if you think Splyce will make it number 2 on the split, hashtag SPY win. That is the snake of Splyce in the old Danish roster. One that Deficio has got a lot of faith into, but we're loading up onto the Rift for the first game of week 3.
It's a little bit too easy for me to have a lot of faith in Splyce. However,
it's a big however at the moment.
Yeah, we haven't seen, honestly, enough from this lineup. G2 on Splyce came in from the EU Challenger scene. Splyce only made 1 roster change. Obviously, G2 got 2 new players. But honestly, G2 has been stealing the show. They've just been looking a lot better than Splyce. Splyce have lost some pretty bad games, honestly, where they make a lot of mistakes, especially in the early to mid game.
The game especially. But that's true of Giants too.
Sure.
Now for Giants, substitute as well, BetongJocke, guy that has been around, is a name that you'll recognize if you watch some of the challenger scene. Or
H2K last year.
H2K played a couple of games,
in the playoffs,
Came in to help spur up Lulex's performance. But now for BetongJocke on Lee Sin, a champion that we were actually just discussing before the game started, how if he's in your kit, if you can play Lee Sin effectively, you've got this additional threat from a jungler that really is always relevant.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of the European junglers are very good Lee Sin players, because again, mechanics is such a big thing in European solo queue. So they like really start mastering things like Lee Sin, supports get Thresh, and I think we talked about it last week as well. But the fact that Lee Sin is not like the top pick, Elise is better, Kindred if she's enabled, Graves people would probably pick over Lee Sin. It still means that you can pick something else in the early rotation and then still fall back on Lee Sin as like your backup pick, and it can have a lot of impact if your jungler is very good at playing it, and also if he's good at playing it on stage.
Yeah.
Because there's a very big difference between solo queue and scrims, where you can go aggressive and you can technically lose the game by making a crazy insect, and it's okay because it's just practice. On stage, a lot of the players tend to then be a lot more careful, they're sitting back, they don't want to go for these crazy plays. BetongJocke, first game for Giants, he has to be able to make the crazy plays.
Yeah, especially against the split pushing threat that Splyce will be able to put into play later in the game. Now let's talk about this lane swap. Splyce are the ones that initiated it. We did see Trashy and Wunderwear starting off in the top quadrant of the map, and Nisbeth and Kobbe, they actually scared away Atom on that Lulu. So this is going to be the 4v0 that Splyce have initiated.
Yeah, we see this more and more. Very different reasons often teams decide to lane swap, and one of the reasons you can do it is if you want to split push, if you like long lanes, which you do if you have a Fiora on your team, if you have a LeBlanc, very mobile champions, you can lane swap and fast push down these towers so that the top tower and the bot lane tower, they die very quickly in the game, and then suddenly you have these really long side lanes where you can catch farm, you can chase people down, and you can kind of punish them for lacking the mobility that you do have. So I like that from Splyce. Also, you can dodge around a range lane into Fiora, not that it's terrible for Fiora to play into Lulu. But now at least you just remove that part where Lulu could be a bit of a bully and say, you know what, that's not going to happen.
Well, you mentioned how Sencux
early
lane pressure, and the chains have connected. xPePii cannot break the tether. First blood secured for Sencux.
We see this so often. Like, people take Ahri as a safe pick, and then counter pick come in as LeBlanc, and early on, again, it is difficult if you do not time the charm with the distortion. Things like these can happen, and we have a jungler like Graves with so much burst damage early on. Easy kill. An easy first blood for Splyce.
Easy peasy pudding and pie. So good start here for Splyce. Picking up first blood. I think only the second time, that's correct, of their 5 games.
You see keystones here, Trevor. More and more Alistar players taking Windspeaker's Blessing after it got changed and it gives armor and MR now when you heal. So obviously when you heal your entire team late game,
Value is great.
it is great. It also signals how Giants want to group together. So you're gonna get that heal, you're gonna get a lot of value from it. GODFRED obviously won't be able to benefit too much in the early game. Also tend to fall really far behind in experience in these lane swaps. Poor supports.
Supports always get the worst end of the deal. There is some love again for Sencux in this middle lane. He's already picked up a blasting wand. So, as if he didn't have enough tools in his kit to work with. This is just going to help at that lane. But somewhat risky invade. Trashy's alone.
Well, he had Nisbeth just before, and then Nisbeth backs away when Trashy wants to go deeper into the jungle.
So smokescreen comes out. There's no real chase threat here. GODFRED, only level 2, had not opted to go for any sort of aggressive play onto Trashy. And as it stands, Splyce are now getting closer and closer to the second tower of the game. Oh, good damage on the Peppy.
Alright, so Giants value getting more solo experience for Adryh and Lucian over trying to deny Wunderwear and Fiora. Because otherwise you would have just swapped GODFRED, BetongJocke, GODFRED and Adam, and of course Adryh to the top side and push in that tower 3v1 and force Fiora away. But they're now basically allowing Wunderwear to get solo experience and farm because he gets a 1v1 lane where there's no experience difference because it was so early on they swapped. And this is something I really do not like. Because you know that the enemy team is going to rely on Fiora scaling up and becoming a split pusher. You're now setting your own top laner behind the person who's supposed to basically stay even with Fiora for as long as possible because you have to teleport on Lulu.
Oh, wow. Adryh managing to almost take him out. So, had that kill gone the way of Adryh, would you have preferred the swap?
No, I mean, it was still a bad swap, but it would then suddenly look better for Giants.
Okay.
Now that they didn't get the kill, teleport is going to be used. You see a difference in CS. Experience at the moment, Wunderwear just hits level 5, and Adam has just hit level 4.
Okay, so full level ahead.
So you're basically just setting Adam really far behind. And this is going to mean for Giants that this split pushing threat is just going to happen even sooner. Because if you go up as a level 6 or 7 Lulu and you can handle a level 8 or 9 Fiora, well, already there, the 1-3-1 is going to start.
I'm excited to see how well Splyce can handle themselves in the split push. Because for Wunderwear, he's played champions that like to be in team fights predominantly. At the time, came to Alistar the Rise. Now he's playing Fiora, who can do well in team fights, but it's a whole different kettle of fish when you're pushing a side lane, when you're pushing the map, choosing when to teleport correctly. So,
yeah,
for Splyce, a different flavor from their top lane.
And playing Fiora in team fights into Alistar, Lulu, it's not really going to be a whole lot of fun for you. Even Lucian is going to be fairly mobile. So definitely we're going to see Splyce rely on Wunderwear in the side lanes, and he's basically been gifted a massive advantage in the early game. This wave is going to be pushed out. Notice how Trashy on your minimap. It's just going to shadow him. Just make sure, okay, I'm nearby in case anything happens. Push in the wave, recall, let it bounce back towards you, and you can just maximize your farm if you are Splyce at this point. Giants' only play, really, is to make an aggressive move on bottom side with teleport advantage. But then again, Splyce should know this, because it's obviously very, very obvious. Okay, we have no TP, they have. Just play safe on the bottom side, don't force any fights, and this TP will matter, or will not matter at all.
So luckily for Splyce, Kobbe and Nisbeth both got their flash. Both very capable of playing defensively, and Trashy still holding Wunderwear's hand somewhat, as this wave is going to get shoved straight into the tower at him. Going to have quite a lot of time to farm that up, but he's down half the CS, and Splyce still over 1,000 gold ahead.
And now if you are Splyce, you play this game where you say, okay, we've just been on top side of the map and we didn't see the enemy jungler. So we can basically remove that entire part of the map and say, okay, he wasn't here. There's no reason for him to be top. Well, there's only one place he can be.
Yeah. And
that's the bottom side. So Splyce's bottom lane just said, you know, we're not going to push out. We're just going to let the wave slowly push towards us because we know the enemy jungler is nearby. He has to be. There's no other place for him to be. So just very smart use of the information. Even though you don't see a player, just by eliminating the places he can be, you can get a lot of information as a team. And just very standard when you are pushing out as an early game player.
Charm.
That was a beautiful charm, yeah.
Be completely predicting the trade. I mean, to be fair, Sencux spelled out exactly what he was going to do. But very good timing from Peppy. Despite being down, despite giving up that first blood from the Trashy gank much earlier on.
Same thing going on for Splyce. Trashy on top side, where they have a stronger Fiora than the Lulu. But now, obviously, you should expect the enemy jungler. He can come in and start contesting the blue buff. And Splyce has to be very careful because they have 2 guys on the bottom side. They don't want to fight this one. They should just back away here.
So, Giants a little bit overextended. Atom is going to get jumped on here. I wonder where he's got the dash. I think Sencux may have face planted, does not connect with the chains, and Wunderwear is going to go down.
Really?
Very easy kill. Splyce stepping too far forward.
Bottom lane is missing from Giants. You see them even start moving aggressive towards you when you start the blue buff, so you know they are ready to fight. Otherwise, they would never move close to that blue buff in the first place. And then Wunderwear goes aggressive. Really, really poor play by Splyce. They've done everything correct leading up to this point.
And the man that they were shutting down, Atom, was the one that got the kill. They're going to get a tower as well. And just like that, Giants actually are going to jump in the lead. Now, Pepi may go down. Spirit Rush charge 1 goes out. Second chain connects, second rush, and Flash gets Pepi to safety. He's got teammates to cover him in this top lane, but Sencux is landing all of the skill shots he needs to.
Still, the last 40 seconds were very good for Giants. Pick up a kill, rush up to top tower. Adam could TP down bottom lane and catch the big wave, so he's now catching up in experience as well. I'm just going to look at him. Currently, he's sitting halfway through level 7. And Wunderwear, 30%. So, suddenly, Adam with a kill. TP bot lane, catch 2 or 3 waves. He's now ahead of Wunderwear. This is how you can take a great early game advantage. And you can look at the window, you can open the window, and then you take it and you throw it out the window.
Well, evens up the game so far for Giants and Splyce. And you talk about those mistakes, throwing leads away, or throwing opportunities away. And actually, Giants and Splyce are the 2 teams in the league that fall further behind between 10 and 20 minutes than anybody else. So on average, both teams are down at 10 minutes. And they both continue to fall further behind, between 12 and 1,400 gold behind the next 10 minutes. So let's see who can either make less mistakes or punish their opponents more. Because, there's always 2 sides to a story, right?
Sure.
You make a mistake your opponent takes advantage of, or your opponent outplays you.
Yeah, if you force the mistake, it's obviously well played by you. As you just talked about here, though, Giants, the first time they're hitting gold for 10 minutes. Yeah. So, better for them early on, but as GODFRED talked about in the feature coming in, it's often not really in the laning phase Giants are losing the games. It's once we get to that mid game and they start making some poor decisions as a team. Now, obviously, Splyce has been doing the same in the last few games we've been watching. So I just want to see which team has improved the most in practice this week. Because again, there's so many VODs you can look at now. There's so many small mistakes you can look at and say, okay, here and here and here we've made some mistakes. How do we fix it? And hopefully that both teams have been able to do it. Even though we have seen now a mistaken lane swap from Giants, and then a follow-up mistake from Splyce, kind of throwing away that advantage they gained from that lane swap.
Yeah. Oh, another good charm from Pepi. Lands both ticks of that Orb of Deception, and Sencux is chunked down. He's got that Abyssal Scepter completed, still a very healthy 18 CS lead. Even bigger for Kobbe over Adryh. But look at this middle lane. Trashy and Nisbeth and Kobbe are coming around. There's no flash on Pepi, and he's going to get caught out. The chain is going to connect again. Pepi survives this time round. The heals from GODFRED helping out. And for Giants, they now need to defend, but Pepi's had to use his ultimate defensively almost every single time.
Yeah, we see the same kind of move though from Splyce. Push in one lane and then start roaming into the enemy jungle and appear in the mid lane to annoy Pepi as much as possible. Early Abyssal, of course, for the LeBlanc in mid lane is one of the best items you can get right now, especially in these very explosive matchups.
Yeah.
Makes such a big difference when you have it fully completed. So I like that fact, that way Splyce played around mid lane in the early game, but it's often been built around the fact that you can win your side lane and then move into this mid lane.
Well, Splyce seems to have gotten off to a good start in those side lanes. Got Wunderwear and Kobbe looking healthy.
Except for that one.
Except for the one misplay.
Yeah,
they evened it out, of course. But for the time being, it's still Splyce being very proactive. They started the lane swap. They got the first blood. Trashy's significantly more impactful thus far than BetongJocke, and BetongJocke is not even that far ahead on CS either. on a champion like Lee Sin that can have such a huge impact.
Sure, I mean, Lee Sin is one of these champions where even if you're 0-0-0, like 15 minutes in, you have one crazy insec and you win the entire game for your team.
Will Wild Growth save Atom? I think we're about to find the answer to that question, and the Nick comes out, Atom's still holding it. Sencux will get the chain down, and Wild Growth didn't even come out. May not have saved his life, but Sencux, another good kill.
He could survive the first combo.
Could have survived. I
But
still think he would have got away.
He would have died no matter what anyway. He had no flash.
He
had no flash. He would have gone down. He has it
next level thing. Oh, another good chop. Onto Kobbe. xPePii is finding the targets.
So, the fact that Adam goes down here is really, really bad for Giants because it removes any possible chance for Giants to force a play on Splyce before the 1-3-1 gets set up. This is something we talked about earlier, you know, in Champ Select. You can see how LeBlanc is pushing down top side. Corki is sitting mid lane now. You want to have your jungle and support constantly roaming into the enemy jungle here. Because you're pushing at least 2 lanes, you're winning those 2 lanes. You can always push them down to enemy tower. Force the enemy to just sit there and wave clear. Nothing else, so they cannot move first. And then you go into the jungle, you put up your wards, you buy more pink wards than Splyce has at the moment, and you start moving them. You see there are 2 pink wards in the river? Move them slowly forward into the entrance of the enemy jungle. The next step is you move them towards the enemy blue buff, enemy wolf camp, and therefore you just deny all the vision. That's going to be the next 10 minutes for Splyce, basically. Small steps every time, pushing up lanes.
This is going to hurt. Sorry, Deficio. BetongJocke.
He's done so.
Wow! So, Sencux 3-0. He's controlling this top lane completely, continuing to shove it in. Now let's see if Splyce can do step 2 of the split push strategy and push those wards.
It becomes a lot easier when you constantly kill someone.
Oh yes.
By the time you're setting up the 1-3-1, because technically right now Wunderwear wants to push his bot lane. But because they're always killing someone, it doesn't matter. Because if he didn't care to kill here, Giants could just make a play on the bottom side. Adam can just join in with teleport and let this wave push into tower. And you can be the proactive one if you are Giants and set it up. I want to see Wunderwear push it out once he can. He has Tiamat now. Get Titanic Hydra for more wave clear early on. Ignore the fact you don't get the same amount of damage. Oh, he doesn't have it yet. Poor guy.
Boots first for the Swifties. Along with Trashy on that grave. Splyce still hold on to their lead. Kobbe still sending the minions in one by one in this middle lane. And we're going to see these guys starting to back, spending some additional money. So Spooky Ghost available for Sencux now. To allow him to chase down even more if he's pushing in the side lanes.
Villa is just a weird move from BetongJocke.
Yeah.
You have an enemy LeBlanc who's constantly pushing your top lane. You just walk into the front all alone. And he just walks in behind you and kills you. Like, that's a very solo queue move. Something we don't normally see.
Well, BetongJocke did just come from solo queue. First game on stage this year, despite competitive experience from last year.
Yeah, and what Giants wants to do now is not try to match Splyce in the side lanes. Instead, they want to play around mid lane. You want to actually have 4 members in mid and then Adam sitting and holding Fiora before Splyce gets to push down. But again, they're delaying it. They're trying to put xPePii to go even with LeBlanc at the moment. But that's not a fight he's going to win. This is a 3-0 LeBlanc. Like, she's obviously very strong at this point. Go 4-man mid once Splyce is recalling and just push up on that tower. Force them to group together, and it's a lot easier to deal with a 3-0 LeBlanc. If you just let her 1v1 you, it's going to be nearly impossible.
For Giants, and take a step back and we look at this team comp, they're still slowly falling behind and still playing to Splyce's beat. But Adryh, he's farming himself quietly into a position where he can be impactful. Got that Essence Reaver app, Zeal completed. We'll expect that Rapid Fire Cannon soon. And actually, interestingly, on Giants, he's got the highest damage percentage on the team. Primarily because Atom and xPePii have not had the greatest of games over weeks 1 and 2. And that is interesting for Adryh, who's a guy who took a lot of criticism last year. I will return to that in a second as Atom's the next target. Wild Growth available. He manages to channel it this time. The Ignite is ticking flash for flash. Sencux gets the kill. Passive procced under the tower, but that's the 4th kill of the game.
It is so key that if you do flash anything against LeBlanc early to mid-game, it is the distortion. That is such a big part of the damage. Early on, you obviously can't really dodge around the Q at all.
Oh!
Splyce again now, they keep getting a kill. And instantly you see the team start moving into the enemy jungle. Like, okay, we get a kill bot side. Nobody's there to defend. Move into enemy jungle on that side. Put in a few wards, then back away.
But look how clever this is from Giants. They pushed Splyce's 3-man
what we
team
want
away from the
Push
river.
the mid lane.
And this allows Giants' 4-man stack mid to push the tower. xPePii's waiting in the wings. Charm will get lunged away from by Wunderwear, and the tower is secured. So, clever positioning from Giants, and they actually turn it back around on Splyce, but it's still not enough to even out the goal.
The way you play against split push is that you control mid lane. If you're stronger in the mid lane and you can push it up to the enemy tower, you force the split push to back away from side lanes and run in towards the mid lane and join into a team fight to defend. So Splyce were a little bit too greedy. Moving forward, they took a lot of damage getting into the enemy jungle, allowing Giants to just push up, and xPePii left the top side. He walked into mid as well, forcing Splyce back, and suddenly you gain something. You need to control mid lane because you also stop the enemy then from warding your jungle.
Well, Giants seem to have realized that. They pushed Splyce again, all the way back out of their own jungle. Ooh, big chunk onto xPePii as the rest of Giants now group up towards this bottom lane. It looks like Atom is shoving at least the minion wave forward, but the vision game, Deficio, that you wanted to see out of Splyce has actually been started by Giants. They've grouped up and they forced Splyce's hand. Look at the wards in the jungle here from Splyce, placed by Giants.
It's super weird to say, but it's almost hurting Splyce that they have such a fed mid laner who can just pick up these easy kills, because Wunderwear never gets to do anything in his side lane. He's sitting so far back, Sencux will pick up a kill, and Wunderwear is like, oh, okay, should I start pushing now? And it's like way too late. Yeah. And Giants are saying, okay, finally realizing, if we just go 4-man mid and push it up mid lane, obviously they can't defend because there's no TP on the LeBlanc, so she's stuck in the side lane. Wunderwear is pushed down to his tower, so Adam is sitting there with him. And then suddenly you can gain something. I just want to see Splyce, you know, chill out a little bit. Have every single lane pushing at the same time. Hold hands. You know, move forward holding hands. And you just push Giants further and further down towards their own base.
Somewhat seeing that. Sencux says he'll hold Wunderwear's hand.
Because now he should be sitting top lane against the Ahri, so he can push into that wave. Because otherwise you can see Giants can just walk down now to the tier 2 tower and clear it out. Yeah. And Splyce's like, oh, okay. I guess this is your farm. It's not my farm anymore. And then you just step away. And it slows down the game for Splyce, which is not what they're looking for at this point.
Well, time is something that you said Giants were looking for. If Lulu, Lucian can get themselves in the mid to late game, get themselves 2-3 items, the Lulu empowered Lucian, the autos and the speed can be terrifying. But xPePii wants to throw out a taste of the medicine he's been feeling. There's some support coming from BetongJocke. Wunderwear does have Flash available. Charm hasn't been fired. Flash already used. And xPePii actually held on to that for quite a long time. Summer spell down.
Still need to see Splyce swap the lanes. LeBlanc want to be top. You want to have TP versus TP. Because Ahri does have pressure on Fiora. The other way around, LeBlanc can just kill the Ahri every time. They are moving down bot lane here though from Splyce, so they will get some damage on tower. Won't be able to take it down though.
Dark Binding finds GODFRED, as does End of the Line. And they got about, what, 40-50% of the tower's hit points? Splyce is going to be happy with the damage, and maybe they'll push up middle. xPePii should be there in time to clear that wave out. And Splyce have actually put together 4 of those fast sight trinkets. And Trashy, he's been caught by a Pepinero charm, xPePii rather. Spooky, chilly, frozen ghosts come out. Defensive flash from Trashy, and the culling will fly across, chunking him out but no kill. The rest of Splyce are continuing to push. Sencux down bottom, Wunderwear up top. We could be for a tower trade scenario.
Yeah, so now Giants again are trying to say, we just have to push in mid lane. The problem is, Splyce had time to set up side lane, so Wunderwear is finally able to push his lane. He's gonna get tower damage there. Splyce also gets a bot tower.
So it's 1-for-1. Kobbe's gonna Valk away. Flashback from Nisbeth. Giants, they've not stopped yet. Spirit Rush into the charm. Kobbe gets caught. He's killed. Giants have found themselves another window of opportunity. BetongJocke goes forward as Adryh as going to help out for the additional kill. Oh! Triple into quadra kill for Sencux.
That took him about 1.5 seconds to kill 4 people. Meanwhile, Wunderwear got top tower.
Look at xPePii on the player cam.
Oh, it's just like the teams have so many small things happening. Like Splyce, the guys in mid lane, they just want to disengage, but they get caught out, they die. Giants chasing for some kills to get mid tower. You see it here, so like Kobbe's just supposed to sit really far back now and try and wave clear while his team is taking side lane towers, but he gets caught, he dies. Tower does enough damage to Giants though, and Trashy. And then, okay, let's watch. Distortion, ulti, oof. Every LeBlanc player's dream, right there.
What a fantastic performance. This is the guy we actually called out in the pregame, and we said, we've not really seen
we've seen one good game
Sencux stepping up, and you know, those 8 kills is the most kills he's gotten in an LCS game yet. That was his first quadra kill on stage. And when two teams that are struggling have come up against one another, Splyce individually and mechanically are showing they can outplay Giants. There's some misplays from a macro and a strategy point, but now they've got this gigantic wiggle room to make mistakes because of how far ahead Sencux is.
You just keep getting these very back and forth games where there are mistakes you feel like the other team could punish, but then they do something different and then kind of runs out into nothing, and then suddenly the team who were supposed to not really gain anything will get a tower, will get a kill, and it kind of surprises you. Because both teams are having these very, very questionable overall calls, but then sometimes they get the right one and it looks really good. Until LeBlanc gets a quarter kill in about a second.
Yeah, well, let's see. Is this number 9? Sencux wants to find xPePii, gonna hold off, still a level ahead. Oh, xPePii's so close to this wall. The double dash, chains don't connect this time round. Ignite is ticking, but I don't think it'll kill xPePii. So close!
Oh.
Almost there.
It's enough though to force you out of this lane here, and remember, 5 seconds from now you can just do it again.
Single digit HP for xPePii.
He's not even 16 yet. He's gonna get rank 3 ulti soon. That's a massive spike for him. Very low cooldown. Constantly can look for these trades. Like Ahri cannot sit in the side lane against LeBlanc. That is suicide for Giants. Every time. I almost cried.
Because I heard your throat croaking.
I've just been drinking a lot of water already.
It's all that Danish pride. It's got you welling up. You can hear the frog in your throat.
It's like Gertson all over again, man.
I'm not touching that one. So Sencux.
Is he gonna be better than Faker?
I told you I'm not touching it, dude.
Tell me about it.
That is last year. So last year. But look at the item difference. Death Cap, Void Staff, Abyssal, and Ghosts. And xPePii's not even finished his hat yet.
Yeah, that hat. Crazy, crazy stuff. I'm not really sure where I'm going with the hat part.
It sounded good when you started, I'll be honest. But for Splyce, they've got themselves a 5k gold lead. They've proven that they can find the kills.
Well,
we're not
one
seeing...
player has proven he can find the kills.
He's putting himself in that position. But we're not seeing the deep vision just yet on those pink wards. You can see 1, 2, 3 wards inside Giants jungle from Splyce. But they're running out of inner turrets. So
yeah.
At what point do they start threatening Baron? At what point do they start trying to force Giants' hand?
I mean, at this point, you just set up your LeBlanc to get another kill, basically. If you ever get Giants split up, move him there, give him a solo kill, because he can just burst down whatever he wants to, and then you can go Baron, or you can push a tower. So there's a lot of plays Splyce can make at the moment.
Wow, GODFRED! Forced to use the ultimate just to stay alive. Adryh's gonna dash away from the Dark Binding, and Splyce, they brute force their way into the last inner turret.
It's interesting when we see trinkets, because a lot of teams, when they're getting very far ahead, they like to have yellow trinkets instead of blue trinkets. Or they also like to kill the enemy AD carry. 9-0. Did you start him in fantasy?
Nope.
Oh, Trevor, that's why you are?
What? You're just saying it like you've got him in fantasy. Liar.
If I had him, I would have started him.
Exactly. So Splyce get themselves a very, very easy kill into Adryh thanks to Sencux. And starting to set up
Shot calling
Baron.
becomes so fun.
So you
when
were saying, oh, wow.
Like that.
There is so much damage, our observers can't even follow it.
Ah, that one rocket.
Now Splyce, they're going to start this Baron. So they're starting it off relatively early. Is that the Scuttle Crab in favor of Giants? So they are aware of the vision. if I'm looking at that
I
correctly.
believe it is Splyce.
Is it Splyce?
Yeah. PePii's back in
so-
base now. BetongJocke has to try and go in and steal this one. I mean, that's almost the only play he can make.
Well, Grand Challenge comes down. Wunderwear will get the kill onto BetongJocke. Gonna carry on chasing down onto Atom. The Baron has been stopped, but Splyce will be happy with that. They've started the fight again. Wunderwear is gonna eat almost an entire culling, and Sencux, he's forced to jump backwards with that distortion for a second time. They've got themselves 2 kills.
Hang on. Splyce got 2 kills. Not in the LeBlanc.
Are we
Wunderwear
celebrating
and
this
Kobbe
now?
got a kill each. Breaking the
Spreading
trend.
the love around. For Splyce, 8,000 gold up. But they were thwarted on their Baron plans. So rinse and repeat, go back to pushing these lanes, and we'll see another dance around this Baron.
Yeah, and this is actually where I like, again, the yellow trinkets, just to go back to that point like 3-4 minutes ago before they started to kill everyone. When you are ahead, having the yellow trinkets really makes it a lot easier to set up plays like Baron with the D boards coming in. Because obviously, again, the enemy team can just one-shot them and clear them and walk further in. But also, I mean, you never really go wrong by having blue trinkets. It's just such a strong item. Is it an item, blue trinket? I guess it is. Like, are you nodding at me? That's saying anything.
It's just a trinket.
Is a trinket an item?
No, a trinket is its own thing. It's like its own classification.
Interesting.
Well, you have abilities, you have trinkets, you have
Really?
items. They have their own system.
Yeah. It's an item.
So, with Baron picked up on Splyce, disregard everything we've just said. They can now push this super Baron-empowered minions, rather, into the base even easier. There is some wave clear here from Giants on the side of that Lulu and the Lucian, but it's going to be very difficult to clear these out, especially with that banner of command, Baron-empowered Giant tank. There's no support here from the Giant side. PePii's been caught by a Dark Binding. Teleport is available for Wunderwear if he needs to use it, and Kobbe uses his package defensively to get away. But BetongJocke is going to be the target. Sencux gets booted away. Not going to find any other teammates to knock up like bowling pins. And the inhibitor's going to fall again. Giants are trying to find an opportunity, trying to find a way in, and it is simply not working.
It's just impossible at this point, Trevor. You're falling so far behind. Splyce can do whatever they want. Because every time you move close to this team, there's a risk of you just dying instantly, literally in a matter of seconds.
And that's exactly what Sencux wants to do to Atom. The chain will find its target. BetongJocke will not find a very good kickback because he didn't have it available. I need to look at that first before seeing him dash in. All 5 members of Splyce continuing to siege up onto the second inhibitor. It will drop shortly. Sencux, he dashes 90 degrees to the right and finds Adryh. One of the damage dealers from Giants is down for 45 seconds. And Splyce, they set their sights on the Nexus turret, decide maybe a little too risky. They all dash through the gate, and here comes Sencux again. Atom will get rooted, and Sencux will use that distortion out. BetongJocke follows forward before being burst down. It's a kill credit over to Kobbe. Flashes over the wall. Splyce, they see a dead Nexus in their sights, and they're chasing Giants away. Wunderwear is looking for the Grand Challenge, and he will find it. Picks up a kill onto Atom. The ace from Splyce. They destroy the turrets, and they finish off the base.
Standout performance. I think it's very easy to call the MVP here. It is Yamato Cannon.
No, look
wait,
at
it's
that.
not.
Ecstatic smiles on the side of Splyce. 32 minutes. And it's actually great to see them picking up Sencux. Enabled by that first gank from Trashy.
Yes.
Enabled on that first blood, and then he just ran away with this game.
Starts in a pick and ban phase. He gets a good matchup early on for himself. Graves jungle to assist him, so that's a great start. And then we talked so much about it in the game itself, how Giants are not looking to try and match Splyce 1v1 in side lanes. What happens? Multiple times Adam or PePiii runs into that side lane, gets blown up by the LeBlanc. He gets so many early kills, and obviously goes completely crazy when he gets to quadra kill.
Yeah.
But even leading up to that point, he got so fed from that, where Giants were honestly looking to just go 4-man mid, have Adam sit and hold the wave bot against Fiora, and just like push up that mid lane. Force Splyce to get into that mid lane and fight them, where you can use Alistar, you know, where you can use Lulu. Lulu has no value sitting alone. You have to make a play as a team and let her TP in. That happened too late from Giants. They realized 18, 19 minutes in, but there was already like 3-4 kills.
So that is a small glimmer of hope on the side of Giants, that they were able to punish the mistakes that Splyce put forward. But unfortunately, it simply didn't matter. And BetongJocke, first game back on stage here in 2016, left a lot to be desired. But to be fair, the lanes fell behind before he really could have had a big impact on the match. And for Splyce, Sencux, can he keep that up against stronger opponents?
I mean, it's going to be tough to say because he's done against Rocket, he did it against Giants now.
Yeah.
We can't really ask for much more if we look at the last 2 games because he's doing what he's supposed to do.
Oh, yes.
You know, just keep being a massive carry. If your team is giving you gold in the early game, you take that gold and you start carrying the rest of your team. Like, that's wider ganking for him in the mid lane. So he's basically doing his job at the moment. The problem against better teams is that, first of all, they will have players who can hold you 1v1 in lane. Not that xPePii couldn't do it, but in this matchup it was tough. And also these teams will understand, okay, how do we avoid feeding him multiple kills outside of laning phase? That's where Giants really went wrong in this one. And they start giving him so many kills, you know, that we normally wouldn't see.
It was also very good to see just how confidently Splyce did close the game out. Now, it is very easy when you've got this gigantic weapon.
Shot calling
on
becomes
the
very
front
fun.
line.
Just go forward and let him kill people.
But it is promising because so often we see teams that struggle, teams that are behind or lower down the table. They tend to be slower at finishing the game out. Tend to be slower to force the Baron hand, slower to force the tower dive. That was not the case today. I mean, Splyce literally ran down that middle inner turret. And Sencux is like, Alistar, I will force you away. That's it. They took the tower on the first attempt. So I really like seeing that. But they just need to tidy up those earlier mistakes with pressure on side lanes, giving up kills that they didn't need to.
It's the very small things we're seeing from Splyce. We're like, oh, this guy could maybe have been in the opposite lane, or oh, he shouldn't have gone aggressive here because these guys were missing, which do cost them. But we're seeing a big improvement compared to week 1, where honestly they would fall apart level 1 almost, and just like make mistakes in lane swaps and fall behind. We're not seeing that anymore.
No, definitely
So it's getting better and better. And like, as long as you beat the teams around you, that's enough to at least get towards the playoffs.
It really is. And almost roughly, Sencux dealt more damage than the entire Giants team combined. With that thought, we're going to head to Pyrotechnics on stage to take a look at how they picked up